You're in bed. The street is finally still. Then a low engine note rolls in from nowhere, a steady, stubborn thrum. You check the window, the road. Nothing. You hold your breath to catch it, and it holds you instead, just below ordinary hearing. You can't prove it, and you can't ignore it. For decades, people across the world have reported this same experience. A persistent, low-frequency hum with no obvious source. Not everyone can hear it. For those who do, it gets under the skin, disturbing sleep, tightening the jaw, turning quiet rooms into pressure chambers. The name changes with the map. The Bristol hum, the Taos hum, the Windsor hum. But the description barely does. A distant diesel, a transformer that never switches off, a vacuum cleaner behind a wall. With each new town that says us too, the mystery deepens. One of the most famous outbreaks began in Taos, New Mexico, in the early 1990s. Complaints piled up. Insomnia, headaches, a sensation of vibration that some people felt more than heard. Attention rose high enough to bring a formal, multi-lab look. For a brief window, Taos became a laboratory. Microphones listened for deep bass. Sensors watched the ground for vibration. People who heard the hum kept diaries and sat with the instruments, pointing to moments when the sound surged. And when the week ended, the data still refused to give up a single culprit. The hum was real to the people who heard it. The instruments, at least during testing, didn't catch a smoking gun. The file closed without a tidy answer, and Taos joined a long ledger of places where science reached out and came back with maybe. Cross the Atlantic, and the pattern repeats. Reports in Britain trace back to the 1970s, Bristol, Largs, and more recently, Halifax in West Yorkshire. Headlines come and go. Councils run noise checks. Residents swap notes at 3 a.m, telling the same story with different accents. A low drone that swells after midnight, stronger indoors than out. Investigators sometimes find industrial hints, a fan here, a plant there, but not the kind of single, stable source that would explain years of lost sleep. The story spreads place by place, and each town adds a slight variation without changing the chorus. Then there are the cases that yielded to old-fashioned acoustics. In Kokomo, Indiana, the city hired consultants to chase a widespread droning complaint. Measurements across neighborhoods revealed 2 dominant tones in the very low register, around 10 Hz and 36 Hz. One tone traced to large air compressors at a metals plant, the other to a cooling tower fan elsewhere in town. Both companies changed equipment, and the measured signatures dropped below background. Relief followed, for some. Others kept hearing it. Kokomo became both caution and clue. A shared complaint can hide multiple sources, and even when you fix one, the human part of the story doesn't always resolve. On the Detroit River, the Windsor hum did something almost no hum ever does. It seemed to stop on a day you could circle. For years, residents of Windsor, Ontario, reported intermittent low-frequency rumbling. Researchers triangulated the direction toward a heavily industrialized complex across the river known as Zug Island. Then came a pandemic slowdown. In 2020, blast furnaces idled, and the reports largely stopped. Was that proof? Not the laboratory kind. Investigators never received full on-site access to instrument the suspected source. But to people who had endured jittering windows and midnight vibration, the quiet felt like a verdict. So what is the worldwide hum? Part of the answer hides in the name itself, worldwide. Complaints appear in clusters separated by oceans and decades, sharing language so similar you could overlay it. Many describe a low drone that gets worse at night, often indoors, sometimes accompanied by a bodily sensation, pressure in the skull, a flutter in the chest, that doesn't behave like ordinary sound. Earplugs don't always help. That mismatch, heard strongly by some, barely or not at all by others, keeps investigators cautious and invites two broad families of explanation: the external and the internal. If a city can hum, it can also carry a hum. At night, temperature inversions bend low frequencies back to Earth like a mirror, turning a distant fan into a neighbor. The external story says there is a sound or a vibration, and we just haven't put enough microphones in the right places at the right times. Industrial fans, ventilation stacks, ship engines, distant heavy machinery, wind interacting with structures, even resonances inside buildings can generate low-frequency energy. When conditions line up, nighttime inversions, wind direction, cloud cover, ground reflections, that energy can travel farther than you'd expect and pool in rooms that seem sealed from the outside world. Kokomo is the poster case for this. Windsor, in many people's eyes, is another. When a giant intermittent source went quiet, so did the town. In communities without a single culprit, you often find a cloud of small contributors that rise and fall with weather and work shifts. Sometimes you don't need a conspiracy, you just need physics and a city. So which is it? A sound we haven't caught, or a signal we're generating? The most frustrating answer may be both, sometimes in the same house. The internal story doesn't claim the hum is imaginary. It points out that the auditory system can generate its own signals. Tiny emissions from the inner ear, usually unnoticed, heightened sensitivity to very low frequencies, and a nervous system that can amplify faint sensations when stress and attention lock onto them. For a subset of people, that loop can turn a barely there perception into a dominant one. In this view, the hum is not one thing traveling the world. It's a family of experiences. Some are environmental, some are perceptual, some stubbornly are both at once. What makes the worldwide hum so hard to pin down is the way it slips between these two stories, sometimes in the same town. You can shut down a fan and measure the difference, and still some hearers report no change. You can move house, change neighborhoods, and discover the drone moved with you. You can pack a room with instruments for a week and miss the very conditions that turn an ordinary plant into a midnight foghorn. Time conspires against documentation. So does geography. So does the quietly personal nature of the complaint. In many communities, only a small fraction of residents hear the hum at all. That leaves those who do hear it negotiating a familiar, lonely question. If I can't record it, how do I prove it? There is, however, a way to tell a cleaner story without oversimplifying. Start with the cases that yielded. Kokomo showed that targeted acoustics can expose specific low-frequency tones and fix them. Windsor suggests that when a large intermittent source stops, a community can sleep again. From there, except that open cases may not be a single phenomenon wearing different masks. The headline, "The Hum," might be something we stick onto a set of experiences that only look identical on the surface. Where industry drives the problem, the tools are straightforward, if not easy. Low-frequency monitoring over time, direction finding, and cooperation with facilities. Microphones that can reach into the infrasonic range catch energy a phone can't. Arrays triangulate the direction of arrival. Weather logs help separate random noise from patterns. Nighttime inversions in certain wind profiles can trap sound near the ground and carry it miles, so the timing of measurements matters as much as the instrumentation. It's work measured in weeks, not days, because the culprit often hides inside intermittent conditions. Where the driver lives inside the listener, the tools look different. Hearing evaluations to check for unusual sensitivity. Managing stress and sleep so attention doesn't feed the perception. Gentle sound enrichment in bedrooms. Fans. Pink noise. So the nervous system has something else to lock onto. None of this implies the experience is all in the head. It acknowledges that perception sits at the meeting point of physics and biology, and that relief sometimes arrives from the biological side, even when the physics won't cooperate. If you're chasing an answer in your own town, there's a pragmatic path. Keep a log. Time, weather, wind direction, nearby industrial activity, notable noises. Note whether it's stronger indoors or outdoors, upstairs or down, and whether it changes with distance from shipping lanes, rail lines, factories, or substations. Recruit neighbors. Enough ears make a better net. If patterns point in a direction, instrument the likely paths. Be patient. The night you want may be the night the wind turns, and patience is the price of catching intermittent ghosts. And if no external tone holds still under a microphone, don't take that as defeat. It may mean the source is too faint or too scattered in time to catch. Or it may mean the source is closer than the nearest plant, inside a system that evolved to keep you alert by never ignoring a persistent signal. Either answer is a kind of knowledge. Both can lead to relief. What the worldwide hum offers, beyond a good mystery, is a reminder of how thin the wall is between the world outside and the world inside. We live in a century of noise. We've become very good at ignoring the obvious racket and less good at noticing the deep underlayer, the infra-rumble of our machines, the subtle workings of our ears, the uneven ways our bodies turn vibration into experience. The hum sits right at that border where a signal becomes a story. Some towns turn the page and find the culprit. Others live with an ellipsis. And on quiet nights, in bedrooms where sleep should come easily, a few people everywhere still hear it. Steady as a heartbeat the rest of us can't perceive. Maybe a fan kicks on and covers it. Maybe a furnace cools and reveals it. Maybe tonight is the night the wind turns and the valley starts to sing again. If the hum has visited you, you know the feeling. Listening for a sound you can't capture. Waiting for the moment it lifts. Hoping that next time it doesn't come back. If you enjoyed this journey, hit subscribe, share your theory below, and join us next time on Vault of Forgotten Mysteries, where the past is never quite finished.